Jimmy's in here. Cool. All right. Where do you want to start?
We start at the end to
Start
go
at the end?
to
We
start at
start
the
there.
end to go to the beginning.
Goal. I don't know. I don't know what the end goal is yet of anything. What about you? What's your end goal?
My end goal? End goal in what? What are we
I don't know.
talking? There's a
You said
that's a broad question.
you never
End
noticed my
goal.
questions are broad.
Well, my end goal is always just to make it through the day, one day at a time. I don't think in long, like, I try not to think too far into the future because there's so many things that can happen. Life is chaotic, so you can never really, you can plan ahead, but a lot of things can happen to kind of mess with your plans. So I find it best to just plan for the day and
Yeah.
then have a general goal for the future, but overall, it's more day-to-day thing.
You got questions, random things, anything like that? Shoot. It's a fun time. Skis is good to see you as well.
So,
Stars, good to see you.
same question goes for you, Raider.
Mhm.
What is your general goal? What do you got going? What do you think is,
General goal. General goal is, I don't want to say to be wealthy. I want to say being very well off.
Well off is a good goal.
Be maybe, every day sitting around with like 10K in your bank account, not including your savings account. So, that's what I'd see right there for myself to be like a good little goal to have.
It's a good goal to have. Kind of like I've seen Joe Rogan say a few times now. It's like when you can pay the bills and not worry about buying whatever food at a restaurant, that you're off well.
Yeah, I never look at the prices either. So it's one of those things where I'm
Oh,
just like,
jeez.
I don't
I'm
ever
the
look at the
opposite.
price.
I'm the opposite. I
Yeah.
remember my friend was telling me about a restaurant, and it's like a fancy 5-star restaurant at Gillette Stadium, actually. Patriots,
Yeah.
Gillette Stadium. It's like a really good restaurant. The food's really good, high quality stuff. But it was like between just him and his wife, he paid about like, I think it was like almost $200. I was like, holy crap!
That's not
Like
that's
like a nice like
that's isn't bad.
two steaks, and like it's good steak, like fall off the bone kind of steak where you don't even have to cut it. It just falls apart and melts in your mouth kind of thing. But that, to me,
Yeah.
like, I have money saved, but I'm not like just going out and spending $200 on a single meal when I can make that $200 last for like 2 weeks.
Okay. So for me, I do tend to,
Splurge.
but yeah, we'll call it splurge. We'll call it splurge. Well, I tend to splurge, especially when it comes to a good meal that I think's like, I'm going out, I'm gonna go get a really decent meal. And I'm just like, okay, I choose Ruth Chris. If you're on the East Coast, usually most people know what Ruth Chris is. So you're spending between $200 to $400 for, two people to eat. And I'm just like, okay, cool. And my buddy's like, all right, cool, I'll pay half. It's like, no, dude, I'll pay for the meal, you tip. And he's like, okay, cool. Went there to eat. Bill came out to be like $320, something like that, because he got dessert too. And I was like, I don't care. Did it. And then he went there by him. He went there with his wife, and she lost her shit when she saw the fucking bill.
Yeah, because like what, $400? You give
Yes.
like a 20% tip. If that, you're giving out like that's $100 right there, or a little less than that, but still around $100 for a tip.
That's a weird thing for me. I don't do that 20% stuff. I usually go based on service. I start you out with $100 for a tip if it's a regular restaurant. And if something I pick up on, like you've got really poor mannerisms or you're
Oh
rude
yeah,
to us, anything like that, I
definitely
bump it
matters.
down. I bump it down by $20 every time.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have that ready to go. And the moment that they hit that level where it's zero, I was like, cool, I'll just do 20%. It's just not worth it. So yeah, most people say I tip too well. And I was like, this service industry in America, they're paid
Yeah,
shit.
I'm
They're
sure
paid
they're
shit here.
happy. They're probably really grateful for it. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I tend to.
a couple of my friends are servers and stuff like that. So when I come in there, they instantly know, it's like, if we pay attention to them and give them good service, we're walking out here with a minimum of $100, like no matter
Yeah.
what. So yeah, risk. It's Captain Snooch. You don't do 20%. Oh my god, you monster! Right off rip. Look, I don't do 20%. I do more than that. I do way more than 20% of a check.
Yeah, that's
Always will.
if it's $400 bill and you're paying $100 tip, that's literally 25%. So
Yeah, so it's if I'm a higher end restaurant, it matters how the service goes because higher end restaurants tend to overlook some people based off their appearance, everything like that. So I'm like, okay, we're going to see how well they pay attention, how well they care about their clientele, or do they care about the big spenders off the back or not?
yeah, I
So
get
it's like
that.
that. You don't know, heard what I said? Yeah, I said I don't do 20%. I do more than that. 90% of the time, I do more than that. Also, Tactic, good to see you. Sarah in here. Ninja Smurf in here. Satan's in here. Zumbi Star. Cap Snooch. Skis. What's up, dude? And
Welcome,
Drift.
welcome in, everyone.
What's up, Empress? How you doing? Curse Breaker. Yeah, I'm still gonna call you Empress. I keep trying to do that Curse Breaker thing, but I can't do it. I'm so used to
Oh, that's
Empress.
Empress. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, we're hanging out vibing. We got a good little crowd. Let's check the YouTubes of you. We got 2 in YouTube. That's weird. What's going on, everybody? If you have anything to say, just say it in the chat. By the way, because it's a free flow conversation thing we're doing for tonight. Get us to know us better, mindset, everything like that. We have a topic. It's in there. Good guy, nice guy, decoding modern masculinity. We're gonna start that, but it's still to be a little interactive because I want to see some of y'all's points of views. Things like that. Whatever I like is fine. I appreciate that. But yeah, so Savage.
Yes, sir.
Do you consider yourself a good guy, nice guy? Which one do you
Well,
think?
we can decipher the two words here. So, based off of my descriptions of them, a good guy is a person that does good deeds without wanting something in return. A nice guy typically does something doing good but wants something in return. That's how I see it, at least.
Okay.
So I would put myself more towards a good guy. I do it not just because I don't do it because I want something in return. I just do it because I feel that's just the right thing to do. So I'm not looking for like a reward. Like a lot of the times, an example, it happens in modern men today when they go out dating. Not all of them, but some of them. It's like they'll do a good deed for a woman on a date, and then they expect sex or something else in return, like a reward kind of thing. Like, whoa, I was being a nice guy. It's like that's not how it works.
I agree. I agree with that. So you consider yourself more of on the good guy side of that?
Yeah.
Okay. For myself, I have characteristics of both, as you've seen already. And, good guy, do things for like the right reasons, morally, everything like that. Nice guy because some instances I care too fucking much and dive head first into so many shit, no matter what. And it gets me into a lot of bullshit, somebody else's
Yeah.
drama, somebody else's problems, and you know, I'm learning to put my boundaries up for that the right way. So yeah, I don't. I try to be the good guy, but I compare myself and say to myself and say to everybody else, like I'm a decent shit human, because you know that's just it. If you want to know what I mean by shit human, you're gonna have to type in the chat and figure it out.
I could be I'm more blunt than anything else, so just say what's on my mind without thinking of what could be the consequences of saying said thing out loud.
Okay.
I just say things out like whatever it might be harsh, but it's just truthful, And so that typically might put me in a category of being an asshole sometimes, but that's just me. But again, when I do things for the greater good, it's just how I am. I don't want anything in return. That's just how I was raised to be. So I guess it goes through how you're raised. I guess it's a big part of that.
Yeah, how you're raised and your environment you were dealt with growing up and dealing with everything else tends to go in that too. But c'est la vie. Let's get started. Not enough people in here. Let's see here. Nobody on YouTube right now chatting. So blah. I lost my pop-up screen. Yeah, I know, right? There we go.
Does sound pretty good.
Pizza does sound good. Chicken bacon ranch. Awesome. Let's go to this. Let's do that. I really hate my teleprompter so much. All right. Fuck it. So tonight we're going to have a nice conversation about good guy, nice guy, decoding modern masculinity. We're going to hit a couple notes here and there about, what we consider to be a good guy or nice guy and why we think that way. We're going to use examples from ourselves, our own lives, things like that. The powers that be will be in our ear and tell us when we're bullshitting or not, and we'll call each other on our bullshit. So yeah, and if you're in the chat, you want to call us on bullshit, do it, because it's more entertaining that way. But yeah, what do you think of when you see nice guy? Do you feel like that's a compliment, or do you think that's more of a jab?
I guess it all depends on the context and which person is saying it. I mean, like I said before, how I explained good guy versus good guy versus nice guy. But if someone says to me like you're a nice guy, I'm not gonna take it as an insult. They might just mean I'm just being a nice person. So I guess for me, it's just their tone of voice, how they're saying it. I guess it all just matters in the context of the situation.
Okay. So stereotypically, the nice guy often carries baggage. Think people pleasing, passive behavior, and hidden expectations. So that's one of those things. Always tell people I'm not a nice guy a lot because most time I don't expect any expectations from anyone.
Yeah,
my
true.
behavior most times isn't passive. I'm very forthcoming about a lot of things and just kind of aggressive at times, but lately has not been that way. So, I'm not a people pleaser at all because I tell people how it is way too many times and they don't really expect it.
Yeah, I get that 100%. Really, it's better in the long run to be honest and upfront than it is to cater to people's either their egos or their emotions.
Yeah, that's true. Let's talk about being a good guy. When you called a good guy, good guy is typically seen as authentic, bold, self-assured. When you think of a good guy, you think about those characters that portray the hero most of the time, things like that. But not always to that extreme.
No.
Because they have their boundaries, they have their borders up, just because they won't allow themselves to be in a situation just to be a people pleaser, things like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I get that 100%. And it depends on the person too, because you could have different people be good guys, but at like a different degree. I was a much more people pleaser when I was younger than I am today.
Okay.
I'm more selective of who gets like the treatment of me being a good person towards them in general.
Okay.
Especially those that are really close to me.
Okay, I get that. So why are we talking about this? So why this matters is these labels influence how we're talking about the men aspect of it. We're not talking about the women aspect of it. We will talk about the woman aspect of it later, though. Need to get a panel of women that flow and disagree at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know. These labels influence how men navigate friendships, dating, personal growth, and how they perceive themselves and other people. That's what we're talking about today. So, according to research and several different multiple sites and Twitter and everything else, because I just went through a rabbit hole with this one. Went down a rabbit hole with this one. So, nice guy characteristics are overly agreeable, avoids conflict, seeks approval, may expect reciprocation. We'll say may. In dating, they'll use the common phrase, "I was nice to you, so you owe me," kind of mentality. I see a lot of people with that mentality that are dating these days, and it fucking sickens me. It makes me think they're
cringy.
just, it makes me think like, you're a weak ass bitch. Honestly, like
Exactly.
you think that like what was it? A friend told me a story a little bit ago. The This guy took her out on a date, everything like that. Took her out on a date, took her to the movies, everything like that. Then expected sexual gratitude for that, and I'm just like, so do you take you out to dinner? Stuff like that. So no, just the movies. I was like, fuck that. You can take yourself to the fucking movies, so you don't need him for that. So no, that don't equal sex. It's like, what else did he do? Say, well, he was nice to me. I was like, explain being nice. Being nice was he talked to her a couple weeks and had conversation with her, and only thing going in my head is so he's just conversating, so he's just a person. He didn't do anything out of the ordinary, like anything that wooed you or anything like that. You know, nothing that got the panties wet, nothing at all. It's like no, it's like there's no sexual gratification needed for that whole thing
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, there's got to be a like an intimate connection. Doesn't always have to be super emotional for a few, like, some people that can just hook up and have sex. Other people like me who need a more intimate connection. But when you're going out with a date with someone, both people have to be feeling that level of intimacy to actually interact with sex and all that.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. Let's see here. I'm skipping over that because I didn't prepare producer lady or boss lady with the slides she needs to show them, so that's my fault. We had other bullshit to handle. Um, let's look at the pitfalls of that. Pitfalls of being the nice guy and that characteristic. Pitfalls are lack of authenticity, suppressed emotions, and potential resentment when kindness isn't rewarded. So, in layman's terms, they become somebody else. They aren't themselves. You know, we talked about it at a former episode that being authentic, being yourself is kind of a big thing. It's a good thing. Finding your own little niche is great. Suppressing emotions. Um, I know that it's one of those things that you can't really control, like at times, especially when it's a nice heated issue. But suppressed emotions over time tend to lead to a lot of more controversial issues. One Love, I see you, buddy. Thank you so much for that raid. I appreciate it so much. Um, Potential resentment. I've seen a lot of guys start to resent women just because they were nice to them. They get friend zoned and they take it out on the whole woman's sex instead of that one particular person. So they treat all women as the same, everything like that, i.e., like all women are bitches or all women are hoes and all women are just going to use you, this, that, and the third. Like, but they put themselves in that position every single time of I'm gonna help her because she needs the help or because she wants to talk. I'll always be that shoulder to cry on instead of putting up their own boundaries of this isn't beneficial to me, this isn't going anywhere, and I'm either a friend or I'm not a friend or I'm more than a friend, and they can't get themselves in that category at all. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It can get pretty crazy, and I think it's a lot to do with like social media today is a big part of that. Um, Too many fake ideas and what's real and what's not, and how people should treat others with respect is kind of down the drain.
Yeah. You know, and I've seen somebody that got so upset because they held a door open for a girl that they thought was attractive, and she just walked her through. In my opinion, I'm from the South, so you say thank you no matter
Yeah.
what. Like even if you don't like the person, you say thanks, keep it moving. But other times it's weird. And I see people start to confront people because they didn't say thank you. And I was like, we're in a public setting. You're looking like an ass right now, or Karen, one or the other. So let's not do that. And I don't understand how people react like that. I don't understand why they react like that over something so minuscule. So yeah. Let's see here. Now let's talk about the good guy attributes. All right. So the characteristics are acts with integrity. That's a good thing. Always a good thing. Sets boundaries. Sets healthy boundaries. Something else that's really good is kind without ulterior motives and prioritizes self-respect. So prioritizing self-respect is a big thing because a lot of people lack that respect for themselves and they don't know where that line needs to be drawn to where that keeps them from losing that respect. Um, I hold myself with some high regard sometimes, and I hold myself to a really high. What's the word? What's the word for it? Fuck, I lost it.
High standard.
Yeah, high standard. There you go. I lost everything else. So I
Nope,
hold
you're good.
myself to a very high standard, and I expect everybody else around me to do the same. 90% of the time, that does not happen.
Yeah,
No matter what,
I
no
can.
matter what I do or what anybody else does.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Like one love was saying in chat, morals is a big part of that.
Yeah,
Someone that is morally a good person is going to have that kind of like those higher standards, those kind of things. You're not going to do things for like you said, hidden rewards, hidden agendas, hidden rewards, those kind of things.
Mhm.
So that makes sense.
uh, somebody who's kind without ulterior motives. That's kind of how we are, honestly. Like no matter what, you you tend to support anybody and everybody as long as they don't aren't disrespectful or anything like that. So and don't expect anything in return. I do the same. I do it a little bit differently though.
Hmm.
But just because I'm thinking about long term a lot instead of like
Yeah,
right now. That's the
yeah,
only reason why I
exactly.
do it. Let's see here. The culture. So,
Mm.
the cultural context for the good guy. When you think of the good guy, real life or fictional, who do you think of?
Um, Honestly, be like like a family man, a person that will not only put like his family ahead of his own needs, but he still has respect for himself and he still takes care of himself, but he also still has, a good standard and morals for his family as well. Teaching them right from wrong, all that stuff, taking care of them, feeding them, all that kind of stuff. But that's what I kind of picture as like a person that's a good person.
Yeah,
Um, it's a family man. I mean, you can be a religious family man. You could be just a non-religious family man. Those can be intertwined as well. But I think overall, just like a family man in general is a good way to look at it.
I agree. I agree. So we'll go a little bit more famous. Somebody that's known for their kindness, no matter what.
Mm.
Keanu Reeves of all people,
Oh, yeah,
famous as he's gotten, that he hasn't lost his kindness to walk up to anybody on the street and have a conversation with them,
yeah,
helps people out.
yeah,
That's somebody that fame didn't change who they were.
yeah. He's been through a lot of traumatic things too, and that still didn't
Yes.
change him. A lot of times, people when they get through that traumatic stuff, not to get like depressing, but he lost his daughter, he lost his
Yep.
wife.
Yep.
Um, and that kind of stuff is heartbreaking for someone that is really nice, really kind person, or a really good person, very kind person. It kind of saddens to see that happen, but he still keeps that overall kindness about him even to this day, and he's blown up in the last 5 years with the John Wick movies, the new Matrix movie, all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been a fan of his for a while. So, seeing where he came from and seeing how he's progressed has been really good, really awesome.
Yeah,
Um, let's see here. The strengths of being the good guy, as it seems, and those characteristics. It's builds trust, which is something that most people don't understand or don't understand how to do. Most people think just because they get along with somebody and like super fast that they're supposed to have your trust. That takes time, that takes effort, that takes energy on both ends. It's just
yeah, and you can kind of see that between like you said, good guy is going to be thinking long term, where a nice guy is thinking short term. That they want that instant gratification, the instant like attention that hit a dopamine. They're thinking of like a selfish desires, where it's a person that is a good person. They're definitely giving themselves what they want in life, but they're thinking long term, which is to go off sidetrack a little bit. Is like
you're good.
example is like it's not always the same situation, but a lot of times in cheating, someone wants that gratification. that like intimacy, and sometimes there's a bigger picture, but a lot of the times I don't see the reasoning to cheat because you get a small amount of intimacy in a short window, but then long term you're not going to have that. So it's like, you cheat for that one night, yeah, sure, you have sex with that person, cool. But now you just lost that significant other permanently, most cases. So you're thinking short term instead of long term.
Yeah,
So for
I
me, I
agree.
never see the reasoning for that.
I agree with that. Let's see here. So we build trust. Fosters healthier relationships. 99% of relationships out there are toxic as fuck, but because
Yeah.
they become people's norms,
Mm-hmm.
they just say, "Oh, I'm used to this," or "This is normal." You know what I mean? It's not one of those things that most people actually contemplate and actually look at all the facts of, this person's really shitty to me. Why
Yeah.
am I their friend?
Yeah.
Things like that. So yeah. So an example of this would simply be I had a good number of friends from the time I was a child to the time I joined the military to the time to now. Toxic relationship would be I have a lot of friends that honestly they're attractive females. Guys tend to try to get on my good side and everything like that, saying, "Yeah, your friends are, they're really nice, everything like that." It's like, "Yeah, cool." And then we hang out, we drink, things like that, and they make a move with one of the girls, and they're like, "I'm not interested in you," and they kind of get a little toxic. They wind themselves back and like, "Okay, my bad," and it kept going like that for a couple of months. And I started to realize, and then I was like, "Are you only my friends to try to get with the girls?" And they're like, "No, no, no, I like you," and everything like that. And I looked at them, I was like, "What's my first name?" And they're like, I said, "Yeah, what's my first name?" And they're like, they looked at me like, they said my last name because it's always on my name tape, shit like that. It's like, everybody knows what my last name is. What's my first name? And they're just like, "I don't know." And one of the girls overheard it, and she's like, "It's fucking Terry." I was like, "Yeah." And that's when I realized that, okay, cool. People are going to use you for any fucking thing. I
Yeah.
didn't think they would use a simple friendship of, hey, we got some common interests, everything like that, to try to get to women that honestly I wasn't even dealing with like that. They were just friends. But yeah. Aligns actions with values. What do you think of when you hear that?
Well, as the saying goes, actions speak louder than words. So, like, like a lot of times, I learned this when I was younger, never to really take someone's promise full heartedly. Because a lot of the times people, sometimes it could be a situation that happens. You make a plan, I promise I'll be there, but then the plan falls apart. Okay, I get that. But a lot of the times people can kind of falter at what they promise. But when they prove it through action, it shows you what kind of person they are. Um, and if they have like a hidden meaning or a hidden agenda, all that kind of stuff. So for me, it's definitely like when I see through your actions, I can kind of depict what kind of person you are.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. For me, you use great words with that. Example of this is going to be my friend. Which friend do I want to use? Because I have a lot of friends that do this. All right, so probably have to be my friend James. He's one of those people that goes above and beyond for people he cares about, things like that. And if he's not going to be there, he'll blow your phone up until he's hey, I can't make it because of this reason. He has an exact reason why. He's not making excuses. And then there's times where he's like, "I'm not going to that."
Yeah.
He's like, he's straight up like that. But I needed help. My truck broke down. I didn't have the tools with me, and I hit up James. It was like 5 o'clock in the fucking morning. I was
Mm.
doing dumb shit in the morning in the truck. If you know what the power lines are in Jacksonville, North Carolina, you know exactly what I was doing. Playing around, having fun, not having a great time, and yeah, it came down to that. He answered the phone. He's like, "What's up, Bubba?" And he's like, "Hey, I'm stuck. I need this and this." And next thing I know, he shows up, not by his fucking self either. He shows up, has people with him. He's like, "We're gonna get you fixed up, get you all good, and get you out of here, so we don't have to worry about nothing." And yeah, he helped me. We were there till 9 o'clock in the fucking morning. So,
Jeez.
got out and we're good. And there's been multiple fucking times he's done that for not just myself, but for other people that he considers really good friends. Um, so yeah, he's flown across the fucking country for somebody. Like, it's one of those things. He's one of those good people that he has his boundaries and they're healthy. He's like, look, I have this going on, because he's a businessman too. So he's like, I have this going on. I can't do that. But what I can do is get you in the right direction or give you
Yeah.
somebody else's number that can possibly be able to help you while I'm doing this. So it's a good person, good fella, and always has been. He has his flaws like everybody else does. So if anybody's seen this and says, well, he's an asshole, so look, he has his flaws. There's a reason for that. But yeah, anybody in the chat, if you have something to say about this stuff, just say it, by the way, too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So go ahead.
I was just saying that One Love, he's been saying some things here and there, so I definitely, he's been interactive. He's definitely listening in. We
Yeah,
appreciate
I
that.
see that. Cool. Do you think that those labels of each one of them is fair? What we've gone over so far?
Oh, easily, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, at least in my mind, it makes sense. Like you said, usually like you can decipher the two by even the simplest of terms is one person has a hidden agenda while the other one doesn't. And then you can obviously expand upon that, but that's like the simplest of terms for it.
Okay. Cool. So we're going to talk about the gray area in between both. So the common ground where they overlap, and where people always get the misconception of good and nice, and they always interchange them so fucking much because just how much they're thrown around, especially in this day and age. There's not really a fine detail on each one.
Yeah.
So both types start off with good intentions like kindness and empathy.
Yeah.
The difference lies in the execution and mindset. Nice guys might act out of insecurity, while good guys act from confidence and purpose. So there's some common ground with that. And let's talk about it from society's standpoint. Society's mixed messages is how it's titled. Men are told to be sensitive, but also assertive, leading to blurred lines. So that's kind of self-explanatory, because
Yeah.
I hear all the time that people say, I want a sensitive guy. And then when they get the sensitive guy that's overly sensitive, they're like, well, I want somebody that's going to be more structured,
Sure.
more serious, more stern, this, that, and the third. And it's one of those things that I don't really understand a lot, because like growing up in the South, we were taught, you can be stern and soft at the same time. So yeah, but it's one of those things that a lot of people don't know how to do that, because they don't know how to
Yeah.
differentiate that, because of different reasons, handful of reasons, because of their environment, how they've grown
Mm-hmm.
up. There's this thing nowadays. It's been going on a little bit longer than nowadays, but this gentle parenting that didn't teach people. Because we're talking about men right now, we're going to teach men how to be men in certain aspects of it. I understand getting the sensitivity side of it, so they understand their own emotions and things like that to keep control over it. But there needs to be a time where you stand up on your own two fucking feet and you realize, cool, my emotions aren't really being respected, this and third. I don't have to sit here and wait for that to get better. I can leave myself on and just leave. But yeah, you're right, David. Some people just eat poop. Yeah, you're right. Some people do just eat poop.
I agree, though. I really do. I think the older generations are more, like, especially for men, they have a hard time more expressing their emotions because they were raised to not express emotions. You are there to be the foundation, the foundation for the family. So you can't have, emotional breakdowns. You can't be crying all the time, because then you look weak to other men or to the family in general. It makes the family look weak. So a lot of the times that's how it was seen back then. Whereas today, emotions are accepted a lot more from both sides of the family. It's not seen as it can still be seen as a weakness, but it's a lot less as a weakness.
I agree with that. I was raised by a boomer.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where some people can tell instantly because of the way I carry myself, everything like that. But it's just the fact of, my mom worked a lot. My grandparents had me most of the time, so they kind of put their mindsets on me.
Yeah.
So I was around that a lot, so it kind of stuck. And I'm so happy it did. Because I've seen people about my age that are literally walking mats 24/7. And I asked them, like, how do you put up with this shit? So yeah, fluffy. Environment is a big part of it, in my opinion. Environment can be a big part of it. But there's still that point in your life where you make the choices yourself after that. You know, you're on your own. You can reinvent yourself any way you want to. You're not under somebody else's control anymore. I'm not saying control as in your parents control you. I'm saying you don't have to follow their rules to progress or to get what you need to anymore because you're on your own. Some people stay at home after 18 for a little bit. Understandable. There's different reasons why. Or they're going to school, things like that. That's fine. Most people reinvent themselves at school. It's just one of those things that you got to figure out what works best for you in a healthy manner.
Yeah.
So let's see here. This is for everybody listening because we got a good number of people. Have you ever caught yourself being nice to avoid a tough conversation? Savage, we'll go with you first and let them have time to type.
Okay, say that again, just one more time.
Have you ever caught yourself being nice to avoid a tough conversation?
To avoid a tough conversation. Trying to think. To avoid a conversation, you're just like, yeah, sure. You're just agreeing just to be polite, I guess. No. No, because even when it's, say, examples, things that make you uncomfortable in a conversation, I'm still going to have the conversation. I'm not going to just to agree. Like I said before, I'm a blunt person, so I say what's on my mind. So, example, political stuff.
Okay.
Outside of Twitch, outside of Discord, I'm a very political person.
Okay.
But I'm respectful to it. So I'm not going to just be an asshole about it, but I am a person that's going to express my opinions and facts that come up along with the political ideals, situations, whatever. I'm not going to just, for the sake of it, agree to the other person's side to avoid the conversation. I like to have conversations with people, and regardless of the outcome. So it's nice to, you're not going to know everything. So it's going to be good to be corrected in certain situations. Fact that you missed, this situation didn't actually happen. This is what actually happened. Here's the facts. I appreciate that. I'm the kind of person that actually likes to be proven wrong. But I'm not going to, for the sake of it, just because or someone who might seem intimidating, I'm not going to just back down from it.
Okay. That's awesome. I have. So there's times where I had to put on kid gloves. There's a lot of times I had to put on kid gloves because somebody's either too weak-minded or too easily offended or too sensitive to certain things because they're just not built tough. Don't understand it myself, but I've had to put on kid gloves, change who I am, my demeanor, everything like that, everything about me, just to have this conversation because it needed to happen.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that did I avoid the conversation? Not entirely. I picked around it to get it to where it needed to go, so they got they got the concept in their head of where I'm going with it without saying, "Hey, fucker, do this." It's one of those things. Sai put in the chat. I think you can be assertive as long as you are respectful and compassionate. It's just a hard balance, and it requires a higher understanding of communication and delivery. I can agree with that. I don't think it requires a higher understanding. I think it requires good judgment mainly on the person's part who's having the conversation, who's initiating the conversation. And the person receiving that end of the conversation needs to be a little bit open minded to realize they're not attacking them and that they're talking about a situation, things like that. That's my standpoint on that one.
I can agree with that, but to add to it, there's a difference when you're having a conversation with in person to when you're texting or typing. Because a lot of the times with typing, you can't see the expression on their face. You can probably pick up on the cues through what they're saying on wording, but a lot of times people don't. It's hard to, at least for me, it's hard to kind of grasp the actual emotion behind the words when someone types. Like an example, it's like, for me, I'll just say okay or K, and sometimes people might see that as like a negative kind of word. So the K might be like, oh, what, are you not really interested, or you're not really into the concept or whatever. And that could be in relationships, friendships, or whatever.
So, funny thing about me, if you K me, you'll get a fucking paragraph back. I'm like, you had enough time to say K instead of just leaving the message alone and replying when you have time.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
But that's what I'm meaning, though. So you can never tell what that K means. Does that K mean that you're not interested? Does that K mean that you are interested? Then why aren't you, expressing it in a if you do care, why don't you express it in a fuller sentence?
Yeah,
putting more effort.
So along the lines with text, you can't tell tone.
Yeah,
that's my major thing. Why I hate doing text in general. Me and your fiance message back and forth all the time, and she'll tell me, "What do you mean?" So many times. I was like, just fucking call me. Just fucking call. Let's make it easy. Or I'll ask her, "What the fuck does that mean?" And she'll just call. We're talking Discord, something like that, and talk about it. It's like, oh, I took it as this, and she's like, no. So yeah, I get it. Tactic. I would think a nice guy is a people pleaser and a good guy will do what he thinks is best, regardless. Hey, we got it to work. Okay. But yeah. Think is best regardless. Yep. I agree with that tactic. We went over that and I completely agree with that. Yeah. So drift, you're right. The Key and Peele skit where they're talking about two different things. One guy's like trying to hang out, the other guy thinks he's gonna fucking fight. Yeah. And he brings a fucking spiked bat to the club.
He's like, what?
He's like, you want to go right now? He's like, fuck it. I can go right now. Yeah, fuck it. I can go right now. What the fuck is wrong with him? And he goes there wanting to fight, and he realizes that it's just his friend doesn't have the same tone as him, and it's completely misconstrued. So it's funny. I like that skit. I actually love that skit. No, Tactic, you're good. So
like Tactic said. That kind of we talked about it before, but yeah, I agree with Tactic said. Think a nice guy is a person, a people pleaser, where good guys do what they think is best regardless. Yeah, I can agree with that.
So let's look at the real life ramifications of this stuff for friendships and work. Nice guy versus good guy. If you have any examples, put them in the fucking chat. It'll be fun.
I actually have an example at work.
Okay.
There's a guy, he's a Marine, or was a Marine, at my work. And he has an aggressive, no bullshit attitude. And he does what's good, not only for what's for the company, but also what's for himself. But he does it in an aggressive attitude, so a lot of times people see it as like a almost too aggressive to like a negative stance. But he still does it for what's best, and he'll call people out on their bullshit at work all the time. Even people that are the higher ups. A lot of times people will be like, "Oh, you can't do that. That's the boss." And he's like, "I don't give a shit," because at the end of the day, he's fucking up, and now it's fucking everything else up.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot at work. We have three because I work at a cabinet warehouse where we take kitchen cabinets, deliver to your house, whatever. And he does hardware. I do delivery. So we have 3 sales representatives, our foreman, and then the owner of the company. And a lot of the times, the sales representatives don't fully think things through and they mess up on a lot of stuff. So a lot of the times they'll get to the end where it's at hardware and he'll be questioning this, that, and this, and they'll be like, oh yeah, that's what that's supposed to mean, or well, this is what's this supposed to say. So now everything's kind of messed up and things get, take longer to get fixed, or it takes longer to be finalized and look good. So he gets annoyed because it's not only affecting his work because it makes him look bad. So I get why he's calling them out on their shit. So, but he's being still, at least in my eyes, he's being a good guy because he's trying to do what's best for the company to make them look good as well as make himself look good.
So I get that. I don't that bugs me a lot because that means there's a certain aspect of lack of integrity because you can't get the job done right if you don't, do it, think it all the way through. Drift sales never think shit through. No, they fucking don't. Anytime I ever had to deal with anything with sales or anything like that, they don't ever think things through. They have a projected outcome, and if they,
Yeah.
oh, this is how it could look,
Mm-hmm.
so we'll fucking do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those things. It's never ending with sales. I know a lot of good salespeople who do think things through, but at the same time is they expect the downward slope of the sales, everything like that. They have all of it planned out, so they already know it's going to lose money, gain money on the back end, which is always the end result. So friendship and work, nice guy, might be taken advantage of or overlooked for leadership roles. Um, Tends to be the guy in the office who does everything for everybody else, brings food to the cookout or the potluck, and always there for everybody else, even in and out of the office all the time. Tend to always get overlooked for leadership roles because they seem to lack that, for better words, a spine. Um, so that you can be dependent to always do this and everything like that, but it's just doesn't really translate into a leadership position. Are his numbers strong and he has doing all that stuff and he's doing all that stuff? Is numbers strong? I don't know. Most nice guys on that aspect of it tend to try to try to work with people instead of focusing on their main job in general. Let's be honest, because they're trying to be a people pleaser and stuff like that. So
Almost
when it
like a
comes to
kiss ass.
yeah, basically kiss ass. A lot of people who are kiss asses do come up and they have a good, argument all the times of, well, some of them are good workers and they have good numbers, but not most of them don't. I think that's because they lack the drive.
Yeah.
To be that individual to outshine everybody else. Good guy in this one. Earns respect by standing firm in values while remaining approachable. So this is the guy that's the office hotshot that can talk to anybody, very respected around the whole office or firm, and just has his boundaries and has his values where he stands by all the time. And he's not going to let it get bent or broken by anybody else. When you look at a leader and everything like that, it's kind of what you want. Somebody's going to stand their ground and do everything this right way. Let's see here. Oh, shit. I missed it. So, do you think if you're a nice guy, you can't change that?
I think most people can change. It's just a matter of their character and how much they're willing to change. So a lot of the times people have a hard time changing though, because once someone is proven wrong, a lot of the times they are too stubborn to admit they are wrong and to fix the issue. That happens especially a lot today, where no matter what, the boat is sinking, and yet you're still going to stay in that boat and just stand your ground and be like, no, I'm right, you're wrong, and then just sink with the ship. But there are people though that are out there that can change, because I've seen it. They are they're given the wrong idea of what it is to be a nice guy and a good guy, They think, oh, okay, I do this, I get this, and they just think short term. But then someone's like, no, 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 you got to think long term in this situation. You're thinking too short term. And then when someone's given the opportunity to adjust and they do, then it's pretty nice to see. But I think it's hit or miss. It just depends on the person, really.
I don't think that it's impossible. It's obviously doable. I've seen many people pleasers turn around and say, "Fuck you! I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not like that anymore." It usually takes kind of a big slap in the face for them to get to that point, but I've seen it happen. So we're gonna Sai. Let's see what Sai says. The good driving force of change is if they find the change brings them some kind of gain. That is true. Um, Most people usually work on a reward system like that internally.
Mm-hmm.
Some other people do not. So it's one of those things where everyone's different with that. But yeah, that's a good point, Sai. Um, let's see here how it wrote it. How to transition from nice to good. Embrace vulnerability, practice saying no, and focus on self worth over external validation. So those are good things that a lot of people that I know should probably fucking focus on.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is like, again, social media is such a big thing where people they crave attention. So, and they think being the nice guy and doing all these nice things for people is going to get you the attention that you want. Instead of, I personally, I mean, this is how I think. It's like I'd rather have 5 strong friends than a dozen like people that you don't even consider friends, but you're trying to like get their attention.
Yeah.
Um, like there's obviously people that I call really good friends or even consider family. And then there's other people that I barely know. I'm like, it's cool and nice to see you, but I'm not gonna like, put all this effort into you when I'm not gonna be. Personally, I just don't care, but that's just how I am. But yeah,
Yeah, that works, man. I mean, that's who you are. That's the thing about it. That's who you are.
yeah,
I tend to go further, like I said, and I get bitched about it all the time because I know I'm doing too much. I know I am, but I just
yeah,
have this thing in my head, like I have to help every fucking body, and that's going to change soon because I'm being held accountable like I should be because I keep myself around a group of people that will hold me accountable no matter what, and they will voice their opinions. And so, I'm going to get out of that habit. And sorry, not sorry for anybody else who gets in the way. But
yeah.
yeah.
You
Now,
gotta, yeah.
go ahead.
No, I was just saying you gotta take that step. The way I am now is because I learned early on in like high school. Sometimes you're gonna learn the hard way that even if you treat people nice and try to please them, they're not gonna treat you the same way. And so you're not getting like that respect that you give out to others, but also like it's kind of hard to like please everyone because and not everyone's gonna like you too. So that's something people have to learn.
Yeah.
Like you as a person is gonna seem like it's bad to someone else, but you gotta learn to be okay with that. Because you can't please everyone. You have to be selective of who you want to be. I don't even want to say please, but just be respectful and kind and nice to, or good to.
Yeah, I agree with that. Drift says, I think I've known like two people in my lifetime that have inherently changed. Okay, that's understandable. Usually comes down to their surroundings and who they
Hmm.
who they deal with in their environment and their lifestyle. That's what it comes down to. Do you know why they changed? By the way, Drift, if
Mm.
just put that in the chat whenever you're ready. Let's look at nice guy versus good guy in a relationship. This is those intimate relationships, things like that, dating, marriage.
Hmm.
We're going with those lines. Nice guy, how it summarizes it, may struggle with rejection or come across as inauthentic due to the people pleasing aspect of their life.
Mm.
I can understand that. I don't really have an example for that one because most people in relationships that I know of aren't really that people pleaser kind of person. So yeah, do you have any examples of that?
not really an example per se, but like kind of like the concept of it. So like a good idea, my coworker actually brought this up before. Um, when he dates someone, he doesn't really see the relationship, how to put it. So basically like the first 3 months is, the first like it's like the lovers like idea. You're like, oh, we're so happy and so into, but when you're actually getting to know the person more and more, they're if they're not being their real selves, you kind of see their real selves slip every so often through the cracks, and because they're getting more comfortable with you, so they're letting the guard down. And as the time goes on, then you'll see if they're really just trying to please you to make you happy, but not being themselves. And like I personally, I don't see that as like a good thing to do though. Like just be yourself from the start. And if they don't like you, then that's okay. You don't have to move on and then find someone else. Whereas like faking it just to try to have a relationship with someone, it's not going to work out. I can guarantee that it's just not going to work.
Yeah, I can agree with that. So that you saying like they're getting that honeymoon stage at the first part of
Yeah,
it because
honeymoon. Yep.
they're all lovey dovey, everything like that. This is fucking fantastic. Then they go from that to who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. There's changes too throughout relationships where at first, like say a year, you're not living together. Um, you might have really good connections with that person, but it might change when they move together because some things might annoy you about specific like things that they do that you don't see on a day-to-day basis might bother you or vice versa. But if you know that person well enough, then that shouldn't become a factor. But for everyone, it might differ on different relationships.
yeah, I get that. I get that. Sorry, I just realized there was people on the YouTube side and I wasn't checking those messages. um,
Nice.
yeah, I know I'm rude as fuck, right? Um, yeah. So good guy in this standpoint in a relationship communicates honestly, respects boundaries, builds mutual respect. Um, so this is kind of how I handle mostly every relationship I deal with. Friendships included with that. Uh, Kind of too fucking honest to fucking save anybody else's life. Let's be honest. I'm too honest. Um, Respects boundaries. I tend to respect boundaries, even though I want to pry most of the times. It's just one of those things that I try to be very respectful no matter what. Um, Build mutual respect. That's one I struggle with a lot because I tend to respect them more than I get respected a lot of the time. So it's one of those things that, you know, it happens. Obviously, it doesn't work out right, and we're no longer on those terms. A good example of that is be a couple of my friends, you and boss, honestly, y'all very honest and communicate back and forth so much. You respect each other's boundaries, and you do respect each other. So it's one of those things that, are kind of the ideal couple right now. And yes, I said right
Appreciate
now
that.
for a reason because I don't know how things change because marriage changes a lot of people. So that's why I'm saying what I said. But, it's one of those things. I see y'all going a long time, but it's just, I'm honest, like I said.
We're both in a good way, we're both stubborn people. So it'll
Yeah.
work out regardless.
So let's check YouTube, see if it has anything. Nope. Cool. So, chat, what are y'all's ways thinking that you can change from being a nice guy to the good guy, or being a nice person to a good person? We'll put it like that. Um, the tips that I wrote down were my own on that one. So it's set one clear boundary a week,
Mm,
just a week, just to see how it works, see how you feel about it, and see if you can do it personally. So there's
mm,
basically decline request that doesn't align with your own priorities. So let's say you have plans and you're one of those people that cancel your plans because somebody else asked you to do something. Um, Say no. I have plans. There's a respectful way to say it too. You can say, I have plans, but thank you for the invite. Things like that. Don't have to worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. and you get used to that, it eventually kind of builds a little bit. Then reflect on why you actually say yes. Do you say it because you want somebody else's approval, or because you genuinely desire to do it? Practice assertive communication. So, just like I said, it's I appreciate the invite, but I'm not available. That's straightforward in your face instead of making some vague ass excuse.
Yeah.
Because being forthcoming like that makes people realize that, okay, they're going to tell me straight up yes or no, or I can't make it, things like that. And that builds a rapport like that, so they get used to it. But yeah, you got anything?
How to change someone from being a nice guy to a good guy? Trying to think. It's like, 'cause it all depends on the situation at hand. And for me, I'm more blunt than anything else. But I am a assertive person. But like, I am gonna be straight up. Like you said, you have to be straight up, but respectful too. But if I'm not interested, I'm not gonna be interested. I'm not gonna do it. If I do it, then I'm doing it because I want to do it. I'm not doing it just to please you. It's more of like, yeah, I'm going to hang out with you because I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting to do and hang out with you. It's going to be nice.
Okay.
Um, so like I pretty much agree with what you said. You know, you gotta set boundaries and do it in a respectful way. And I'm trying to think of other things that can go with it. Can't think of anything right now at the moment.
You know what I can't wait for more than
Hmm.
anything else? When we fucking disagree. I can't wait for it to happen on the
I
podcast.
disagree.
I can't wait for that shit to happen.
That's
And
because
some
we're like minded, so it's gonna be hard. It's gonna have to be like a certain like topic.
don't yell at us.
Well, I think it's more of like we haven't really made an actual disagreement, and like I know for us it's gonna be, you know, and a lot of people today when they have a disagreement with someone they get offended, emotional, they get
Yeah.
attached to their ideals and want to be aggressive towards it. Where it's us, we're gonna be like, okay, I disagree. Here's why, but I respect your opinion, or I respect what you're saying.
I can't
Mm.
wait for one time when it's going to be one of those funny things. It's just like, oh, I don't really like that. Why not? We just go back
Mm.
and forth. It's going to happen one day. One day it's
Well,
going
it's
to
like
happen.
there's small things. It's like, you know, example, you don't believe in like ghosts and spirits and stuff.
Yeah.
That's something you don't, and I can respect that. You know, I'm a person that wants to believe, but needs the proof to believe in it, whereas you just don't believe it entirely. So I don't know if like if I gave you like hard proof, would that change your opinion? I don't know. But at the moment, it stands that you don't believe in it at all. Then that's where we are different in opinion. But
Yeah.
anything else, I haven't really thought of something.
So it's not the fact that I don't believe in those things. That's the funny thing about it. It's just I haven't seen them.
Yeah. Okay. So you're like me that
So
needs proof. You need
yes.
to witness it yourself, not just like a video, but like actually
Yeah.
be in the moment.
Yeah. That's one of those things. And if that happens in the moment, I'd be like, okay, cool. I actually believe in this shit now. Now let me figure out what there is to this. You know, I'm just, oh Lord. I know y'all can't hear her, but she's writing down a new goal for me.
Apparently,
This
we're
is
going ghost hunting.
fantastic.
That's
Guess
her
we're
new
going
goal.
ghost hunting. Guess we're gonna pick up somebody on the way. Okay. So that's all we got tonight. I kind of want to do a little Q&A with you guys to figure out what it is y'all really want to see. What will make y'all interact? What would make y'all actually happy to come here? Like, I want to hear about this. I want to talk about this shit. Because
Yeah.
if you want to see his acts, then you're gonna have to go check out his stream, where you can go see it all the time. Just let you know. If you don't know where his stream is, it's Ninja Smurf. It's Ninja Smurf. Um, yeah, she'll put it in the chat for you, which I know you see. You know, just go to his stream, and then there's a redeem for it. I'm pretty sure still. Um, yeah, but uh, next week we're gonna be talking. I'm gonna try to do the female standpoint by next week, and we'll figure out where we're gonna go from there. Hey Kyle, what's up? And we'll figure out what we're gonna do, because the next couple weeks after that we're kind of planned out, and we got some names coming here that a lot of you know, and they bring their own crowd and they're
Looking
interactive.
forward to it too.
Yeah, I am too. But yeah, I'm, you know, wondering what to do next a lot. But say la vie. You got anything to tell the people?
Thank you for stopping in. We always appreciate it. Coming in, hanging out with us. It's always a blessing to have you guys here.
Oh my lord. I thank y'all very much. Y'all have been awesome. Y'all literally do motivate because I see the reaction y'all have been doing lately to all the social
Mm-hmm.
medias.
Yep.
Honestly, boss, can you do I think it's exclamation point link. So for all of you who don't know our social medias, they're all in that link. So yeah, follow along. Figure out, there's something you like that we do, something you don't like that we do. I want to hear all of it, positive, negative, everything, every aspect of it. Things you can't stand that we do, or things that you really fucking enjoy. Let us know. Okay, cool.
Criticisms are welcomed. We'd like to hear your thoughts.
But yeah, I appreciate everything y'all do, and I hope that we don't disappoint at all. And Drift, I saw that comment. I know I make the wrong rotations. Go fuck yourself. Okay? But yeah, y'all have a great day.